All right, so we're here. Views from the mountaintop. So we reach the top of the mountain. There's always another one to climb. So here with John Cortez. Appreciate you for joining, my man. I just kind of want to hop in here. And you studied finance. You now work in finance. So what was the idea behind that? What made you want to jump into that field? What made you want to study that in college? You can take it back to high school, and I'm sure there's a story there, but remembering from when you first got started and wanted to pursue that field.
Yeah. First, man, let me just share how excited I am to be here. Really excited for this project, Chris. I saw the episode you did with Brian Taylor, man. So the anticipation to get on here and share my story, man. I couldn't wait. So,
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
but the interest, man, it comes early. Like maybe found it in the sixth grade, right? Maybe in the sixth grade, and it stemmed from not having any money, right? Needing some money, exercising some, entrepreneurial spirit, flipping candy bars and things of the sorts to, get a little bit of money in my pocket. That's where I think, the fascination with money maybe started, like a healthy fascination, understanding, the cause and effect, relationships of money, and then high school, I started to read. I was introduced to a book called How to Save for Retirement Without Living Like a Pauper or Winning the Lottery. I'm not sure if I've ever mentioned it to you.
Yeah,
Have
yeah.
I?
Hmm.
All right. So like nothing, like not a crazy book, right? Like it just highlights the power of like compound interest. Talks about like index funds. It talked about just how over time, compound interest can like really, work for you, right? And as like a 15-year-old kid with, not shit, and holes in my shoes and, these big dreams of like a big, beautiful tomorrow, like I really kind of clung on to that as a, potential like vehicle, right? To improve the, standing of myself and of my family, right? And so I would say, about sophomore year in high school is when, I knew I would be, a finance guy. So that's the finance guy origin story, man.
I got you. Yeah, I remember you telling me about that book, and I remember you showing it to me, and you were like, "Hey, Chris, what's your dream car, man?" And and I was like a Lamborghini Diablo, and you were like, "How much does one of those cost?" And I was like 90 grand at the time, and you were like, "Hey, man, actually, if you put that in a fund, man, like the way the compound interest works, like you could have that bad boy, you could have that bad boy, man, just putting some money aside and let the time work for you, and you can get that. That's your Lambo right there, man." And I remember,
I
and I
am.
remember,
I'm sorry, man. I'm
yeah,
embarrassed to say this. Like I still talk like that, man. Like
yeah.
hearing you, recount that conversation, like I still talk like that, man.
Yeah, that was great, bro. And that was like our maybe junior year in high school.
Right. Sitting here in 2024 now, and to think that a Lamborghini Diablo costs 90 bands, man. Don't that sound like a deal, huh?
Yeah. Yeah,
Sound
for real.
like a steal, man.
Exactly.
Right, my Prius
And
costs about that much today. Yeah, let me ask you, man. So
Mm.
I think this is the second installment in the series views from the top. Am I correct?
This is actually the third, no, fourth. This is the fourth episode. So we have one out so far,
Right.
and yeah,
Brian
this is
Taylor. It's a
yeah.
great
So
great one. If you haven't seen it, go see it.
yeah, appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. So yeah, this is the fourth episode. So the second episode was with Phil. You definitely know my man Phil.
Philadelphia.
So we
If you're
did
watching this, Phil, love you, brother. Can't wait to see you, man. Come back home.
so we did that. Talked about the legal field and his perspective and his growing up and everything, and then his take going to Berkeley and everything like that. And then the third episode was with my mentor Demetrius, and he oversees a program for Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. And the program that he oversees basically brings more opportunities to students of color in California. So he holds different seminars and talks to them about workshopping their applications and the different extracurriculars that they that they can put together because they're one of the few Cal States that actually have a comprehensive application process. So it's not purely based on academics, but you can actually include extracurriculars in their application process as well, which is very few and far between in the Cal State system.
Love that, man.
So it's
You've
pretty
been
cool.
busy. You've been productive, and I appreciate just the the diversity of experiences, right, that you're bringing to this platform. So, um, I got to tap in, man. You got to
Yeah,
release
absolutely.
more. You're sitting on a treasure trove. You got to put it out. I'd like to see what you got.
Absolutely, man. Definitely the Microsoft mishap put set me back a little bit on the editing side on the editing side through my other computer, but not letting that stop me, man. We gonna bounce back. We gonna keep it trucking. And luckily this one's on a different computer, so who knows? This one might come out first.
Yeah.
We'll see how the editing goes, man. But
Right.
so jump into finance and in college, you're studying that in college, and then uh, there was a pivotal moment. So at Sac State, California State University, Sacramento, it's one of the colleges that requires that you apply to be in your major. So so can you kind of talk about that process of essentially doing the entry level classes and then applying to be in the program specifically for finance for you?
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Absolutely. So anyone who has gone to college recently or will soon go, like you will come to learn, man. Like getting there does not guarantee you a seat in the classes that you would desire, right? Um and so it's going to be a bit humbling to recount this, right? Because like it wasn't it wasn't easy, like I came to college, I would say relatively, unprepared, Chris. um I would be embarrassed to admit how many times I took algebra in college, man. I would be embarrassed to admit how many times I took business calculus, right? All things that were prerequisites to getting into the business program, right? So when you asked me to talk about my experience doing that, right? All I could say is, by the skin of my teeth and the good grace of God, man. And I was just coming from a different place. Like I will say that I was a late bloomer. Like I wasn't very academically minded in my youth, in my adolescence. I come from a family where like education was valued, but like the trend had yet to be established, right? For
Mhm.
folks, sort of taking this serious, pursuing higher education. And so I don't know that I always like respected the like academic opportunities, that were before me. Needless to say, it all worked out, right, from just sheer like perseverance, and grit, and I'm not sure if you had like a a specific experience in there, but uh, that it was challenging for me to get to where I wanted to be.
I got you. I mean, we all have challenges. Everyone has their own particular journey. I think college was probably an eye-opening experience in the sense that there's multiple ways to skin a cat. Some people will cram their major courses into the first couple years. Some people will do their GEs and put their major courses off to the end. Like it's really whatever you want to make of it. The particular path that you're on is the particular path that you're on, and you come to that at your own pace, essentially. And then so through the grit and the perseverance, you were admitted into the finance program, and then began to thrive in there. And I remember it's funny because I remember I was also applying to be in the business program as well. And then you had got in there like one semester before me. And then you were saying, yeah, man, honestly, I'm clutching A's now. And that wasn't the case before. But now that I'm actually learning what I want to learn and things are kind of coming together for me, man. And I'm kind of seeing some light at the end of the tunnel, like this concept of finance and everything and the way that the degree is unfolding for me is kind of all coming together. So, I mean, I think you downplay yourself a little bit in how well you did, at least at the end there. But hey, there's always some struggle, with anything that you want to accomplish, especially something such as so robust as a 4-year program or a master's program or anything of that nature. So still know that you accomplished a lot.
Yeah, no, thank you, man. I appreciate that reminder. I absolutely do. And one thing that I can think about, like coming into university, right? And I imagine that the audience for this might skew, like the demographic might skew, maybe younger, right? Folks
Mm,
that are like to, possibly getting ready to like embark on their college journey. Um, and I remember, man, like it was always finance,
mm,
right? Like I could not, imagine, doing anything differently. From the time that Gail Marks Jarvis, the New York Times columnist that wrote that great book, she planted those money seeds in my head.
mm.
Uh, it was always going to be finance, and if there is someone who is applying for college or in their early innings of college, like I feel like now more than ever, like focus, right, knowing what the end goal is and like where you want to go is like so important, man. And I'm interested to know, Chris, like what type of advice would you maybe offer to someone who is watching this and applying to colleges? Like what would be your number one like critical tip?
Just on me, I mean, I guess I'm the podcast guest today, but my advice would just be to do some research. I think there's a preconceived notion in the job that you want and the career path that you have, and you're probably barely scratching the surface on what that actually is if you don't know someone who actually does that job. So I feel like a lot of people, their aspirations are towards a career that they have never seen anyone do that career. They've never seen anyone accomplish that particular goal. And so they're charting a path that is essentially unseen for them. So I would highly implore them to do some research into folks who have accomplished that, see what their lifestyle is like, see what's going on with the type of work that they do on a day-to-day basis. Because a lot of times the preconceived notion of a particular career path is not what it actually is in actuality. So I highly implore people to check out all avenues to achieve their goals, whether that's through some type of licensing or certification or whatever it may need, because you definitely don't want to be expecting that you'll reach the end when you don't even know fully what the path may take. And I think that's a big portion of achieving your goals is really knowing how to get there. And that's what this show is all about, giving people the roadmap to achieve the goals that they have for themselves.
I love that, man. That's the number one thing. I could not agree with that like any more. So let's do that. Let's do more of that.
Absolutely. And in college, you were part of a business club. We were both in that together. So the MLK Business Resource Group. How did you learn about that club, and what made you want to join?
Okay, so that's a long story.
We got
But
time.
we got time, right? And I think that it's a good opportunity, to just experience, share. And I actually had lunch with Stephanie,
Oh,
maybe
nice.
last Monday,
Yeah, shout out to
right? So
Stephanie Francis.
Stephanie Francis, man. From time to time, you come across people that change the trajectory of your life, and like she's not going to see this. I'm sure. Maybe she will. I don't know if she follows you on the socials, but Stephanie Francis, Chris, 100% responsible, for much of my life's early achievement. And this woman was a career services director at the College of Business at Sacramento State. She organized a group called the MLK Scholars, which was a diverse set of like-minded, high achieving individuals, a cohort of sorts, sort of navigating through college together, looking to cross the chasm from academia to the real world. And I actually found Stephanie Francis. I want to say my junior year, maybe late in my junior year. I was just wrapping up my football career, and I was reached out to from her office, and they were looking to the College of Business. They wanted to interview me, man. They wanted to interview me. It was like homecoming. They wanted to, shine some light on someone from the College of Business who played on the football team. And
Okay.
and my luck, man, just my luck. I was like the only person on the team studying finance, studying business. Like
That's surprising.
you could. It is incredibly surprising. Like I don't know what these people were doing. Like 70 plus people. I was the only one in the College of Business, and also not surprising because I was never in class with any of my teammates.
Mm.
So I'm not sure what they study. Um, anyway, so that was my introduction to the MLK Scholars Group by having been reached out to by Stephanie Francis's office, subsequently being interviewed by her, and then fostering a relationship with her. At that point in time, I had like experienced a career-ending concussion, and I was sort of working my way out of athletics and into just like regular student life.
Mm.
Um, and so I was like in a pivotal moment, man. Like I found myself with like all of this time on my hands, right? Like all of a sudden, like I had all this time and energy and like no real responsibility or obligation. Um, and I was older, right? I
Mm.
was, a junior, not much college left, and with only one place to go, right? Like off campus,
Mm.
like getting out of here soon. Um, and so it was fortuitous, right, that I was, it was fortuitous that I made contact with Stephanie at this time and the MLK Scholars Group, and it is there where I found, just the I got a sense of just like how imperative it is, right, to cultivate, a package, right, a representation of your potential value to a would-be employer, right,
Mm.
before leaving university.
Yeah,
Like, let's be honest, man, going to college ain't enough, right?
absolutely.
It doesn't prove nothing other than potentially your aptitude to take tests and show up, which is amazing, right? Amazing capability, but like it is competitive. Like it is incredibly competitive.
Mm.
Uh, you gotta go beyond that, and like Stephanie Francis really made me hip to that. She and the MLK Scholars Group, helped me sort of like find those opportunities to shine, man. Be
Nice.
it the MLK Scholars Group, be it the Student Investment Fund, and just the urgency, right, to know that like time is of the essence. So
Mhm.
that was my experience with the group.
Nice. And you did mention the student investment fund, and I did want to touch on that a little bit as well. Was Stephanie part of your introduction to that, or was that more so Dr. Moore or a different one of your professors that got you introduced to the student investment fund?
Yeah, shout out to
And
Dr.
then also
Moore.
before going into that, explain what the student investment fund is, and then kind of how you got into that.
Yeah, so university endowment, right? I think you'll find them at most schools.
Hmm.
In the case of Sacramento State, it was maybe like $1 million or so that was funded by the university for students to get like real world experience in portfolio management with. So it was a great opportunity, man. A great opportunity to get along together with like-minded finance students that wanted that like applicable real world experience of managing money, trading stocks, managing a portfolio. Incredible experience. Lost more money than I made, for the university. But all in all, I like to think that I contributed a lot to the portfolio growth in the long run. Took some losses during my time there, but set it up for some outperformance, in the following years.
Nice. And how did you get introduced to that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This came out of like a sprint, man. It came out of a sprint. I was looking for anything and everything to sort of demonstrate, um, any potential value to a like would be employer. And the student investment fund at the time was ran by a professor by the name of Dr. Moore, who very well, Chris.
My guy.
Um, yeah, he's amazing, man. Like he's great. Um, and and I feel like during your time in college, like I think when if you are fortunate to come across a professor or a mentor that you can see yourself in, um, which in my case, right, studying finance as a black student at Sacramento State, there was one person in that field that looked like me, right? And that was like Dr. Moore, right? And so I found him to be extremely like relatable, right? Just the way that he presented, the way that he handled like the curriculum, the way he engaged with us as students, man. I found it to be highly relatable. And I enjoyed his teachings, right? So he was the advisor for the student fund, and he was marketing it, and so that's kind of where that introduction came to fruition.
Nice. That's great. So, you're kind of navigating through college. You do the student investment fund. You're with the MLK Scholars Group with Stephanie Francis, and then we come up to an event in which you have the opportunity to meet your current employer, Google. So a Google representative comes to university, and they host a program in which they are essentially looking for new people to join their accounting and finance department. So becoming a mature company and wanting to kind of expand in some of the more core aspects of the business and wanting to give that back and kind of recruit from some of the local universities, essentially not too far off from Silicon Valley, then coming to Sacramento State and kind of doing some events with folks. Can you tell me how that experience was, how that event went, and that whole story behind that?
Yeah. So just as you recount it, I remember the marketing, right? Like Google was coming to town. It was an event led by our MLK Scholars Group. At least facilitated by, and you know for me, it was the moonshot, right? Like I was gonna make it. I was gonna go just see what's up. You know what I'm saying? Like this is interesting. I don't know if you know this, Chris, but when we were in Avid during Krasinga's class,
Yeah.
like we used to, study like potential careers.
Hmm.
And really, when I owned in on like wanting to be a financial analyst, it was because we were, Krasinga gave us a speech. It was like, okay, like think about your career and then know whether or not if it will provide, for the lifestyle that you want to live, right?
Hmm.
I get on, man, and I'm searching for jobs within finance, and you can see financial planner, like actuary, financial analyst. Like I stumble upon financial analysts, and I'm seeing, they make some okay money.
Yeah.
But then I continue that research, I'm trying to figure out like where the financial analyst, right? I'm intrigued by the job description that I'm seeing at the time as 10th grader or something.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm saying like, yo, financial analysts, they make the most money at Google, right? And so I started researching Google, and I started learning, just like how much of like a challenge it is to get there.
Hmm.
Um, and so that kind of became my North Star, man. Like that was my dream job, from 10th grade onward. Like I knew that if I can arrive, in the position that I am currently in now, that like that's it, like that's what making it looks like for me, right?
Hmm.
And I had this 5-year plan, you know, that included, wrapping up my graduate degree, getting like relevant experience, getting an MBA, right?
Hmm.
So that way I could be that person, that could, sit in a seat, there.
Yeah.
Um, and so when I heard that, there was this opportunity, man, like I didn't think too much about it. I was gonna show up, I was gonna make the connection, but I figured long shot, right? Like just Sacramento State. And don't get me wrong, I love the education I got. And I think that, it is I think it is a fantastic institution, man. But I just think that historically, there have been maybe some like very like myopic like preferences, right, for target schools. Like we've all heard of target schools.
Yep.
It's where uh, I'm not gonna go down that. I can really I can really get one going on that. But anyways, uh, so I was there primarily just to see and be seen, right? I didn't really have great expectations, and mind you, I was had an interview scheduled for the day at SMUD, the local utility district, and they paid really well,
Hmm.
for the Sacramento region for college students in particular. Um, and I remember, just being, head to toe in my suit, man, feeling good going to that SMUD interview. That interview was 2 minutes. Immediately the hiring manager was able to tell that I did not have the skill set for, the role that she was hiring for, man. So
Wow.
I found myself heading to the, Google, info session, man, somewhat, defeated, but not undeterred. And like, who would have thought, man, that, just that 20 minutes, of sitting through that, presentation and 30 seconds of giving an elevator speech, would change, the trajectory of my life, right? Like where a 5-year plan that, maybe would or would not have worked,
Hmm.
didn't need it anymore, right? And accelerated that, to my here and now. Um, and it's just remarkable, man, when I just think about the experiences and just the zigs and the zags, man. College athletics, pivoting out of that, like reinventing myself, trying to develop myself as like a professional, student investment fund, internships, uh, you know, um, like it's an interesting path, man. And when I do the introspection and reflect on it now, like it is how incredibly lucky I've been, man.
Yeah, I
So
mean, the opportunities that presented themselves, and there is some luck there in the opportunity. However, I would be remiss if I didn't say that you were prepared for those opportunities as well. And when you in the instance of SMUD, when you did get the opportunity and you weren't prepared for that, then when the rubber meets the road, it's gonna show who's really prepared for the position and who's not. So, obviously you didn't get that one, but then got pivoted into a position to go for what you actually wanted to do in the company that you ultimately wanted to work for. So I myself have a very positive disposition and think that things always work out in the way that they're supposed to.
oh yeah,
Um,
that's paranoia. That's the inverse of paranoia, man.
yeah.
And yeah, yeah.
Hey, we can't tell the future anyway, so we might as well just believe that it's going to work out perfectly fine for you. And so I've always just kind of stayed on that end of things, and it's worked out well for me so far. So I'm just going to keep on believing that. But that's amazing how everything came together for you, and then ultimately able to do that. So tell me about that event. How did that go? And then what part of that event end up leading to you actually being able to apply to the rotation program at Google? And then kind of tell me a little bit more about that as well. The what the rotation program is.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So I'll start by saying there was pizza. There was pizza, right? And don't get me wrong, like I showed up because I had this plan and this dream, but also like a large factor was that they were feeding us, man. And we all remember being broken in college. So
Big facts.
uh, it was a great event, right? Tony Francis, my soon to be manager, presented, introduced the university to a opportunity where every year they bring in a cohort of finance associates that do 4 rotations throughout Google Finance over the course of 2 years, and then concluding that you kind of find a forever home more or less to like transition into post rotation program. So um, it's regarded as Google Finance's early career talent pipeline. It's a really phenomenal experience. Tony Francis basically took the time, during that event to like kind of just illuminate that, gauge interest, and like find candidates. I'll fast forward, right? We could get into, like my experiences in that program thereafter. and following. But it was really, a warm introduction. The event was sponsored by, the MLK Scholars Group, right? And so I was able to get a warm introduction, and you know, just focusing on like the relationships, right, that you cultivate, along the way, that earn you like a warm introduction that can just help improve your odds of sort of making the impression that you want. Um, and so just 30-second elevator pitch, man. And then I found myself, going through the interview pipeline, recruiter screening, on-site interviews, after the on-site, like follow-up interviews, right? Probably, 7 rounds of interviews, that I had completed. And I remember this being like during finals, man. And it's been a while, Chris. You've been out of school for a long time. I don't know if you remember what those finals weeks were like.
Yeah,
That was tough. It
brutal,
was tough. It's so
brutal.
brutal, man. Like absolutely brutal. And so I was doing this recruitment, and obviously, like eye on the prize, man. Like it's here. And I'll admit, like I wasn't like uber confident, man. After every round that I passed through, just like the relief and the excitement and the thrill that I felt and the disbelief that like, yo, I'm still in this, man. Like John, from, Central California, that barely, what I'm saying, got into the business program, who had to take algebra, man, who knows how many times because we forgot. Like Google is still thinking, that I potentially can do this, right? And so round after round, man, just to my amazement and disbelief, I progressed until I finally got that offer. And at the time, I was working at Schools Financial. You may be familiar; it's like a
Mhm.
regional credit union here, and I didn't like it. I didn't like the work that I was doing. I was a business analyst there, um, and I remember I got the job offer. And I was at work, man, and I get off the phone with my recruiter, uh, and in that moment, man, I just felt like the weight of the world leave my shoulders, man, and I went home. I went home, man. So it was a good day. It was a good day. And fast forward right to the following September when I show up, in the Bay Area, in Sunnyvale to like begin my rotation, man, my
Yeah.
rotation program. And I'll say, man, I've been at Google now for 6 years. I still consider myself an early career professional, right? Like amongst all of these true, tried and true corporate warriors that I work with, like being 6 years into my career at Google, like I know that, there's still so much more for me to learn,
Mhm.
but my first 2 years particularly, man, were like eye opening, you know, uh, very eye opening, transitioning from university into corporate America. There's a different style of decorum, right?
Mm.
It requires a certain level of tact, right, to be successful. Like it's not necessarily just about knowing how to do the work and how you do it, but just managing upwards and downwards, and there was a lot of learning that went on. So um, let me pass the mic back to you,
Yeah.
and I want you to kind of like steer this into the direction that you'd like to see it go, Chris.
Yeah, I got you. So the different departments of the rotation program, how did those how did those pretty much go? So what were the different stations essentially of the rotational program that you ebbed and flowed in and out of?
Yeah. So the opportunity set was vast, man. I'll say this: when it comes to finance for like a large multinational corporation like Google, like any job that you can possibly imagine, for within the finance field, like it's there at Google, right? From tax to treasury to internal audit to accounting. to corporate FP&A, right? There's a tremendous amount of opportunity, and I would say within my first few years, I was exposed to some strategy operations, did some really exciting work that allowed me to spend a lot of time in Chicago. During my first 6 months, I did revenue accounting, which was really interesting to be. Excuse me, to just be in a position, right, to sort of see how the sausage is made, right, from
Mhm.
all of these various avenues, be it YouTube, search, ads, right, to see all this money come in, and to be privy to that, before the street. I really enjoyed, just the that experience to product finance. I spent some time in technical infrastructure and real fast. Uh, I'm a bit of a technical infrastructure nerd. I love data centers, machines, and networking. And in this like digital age where all the services that we consume are brought to us via the cloud, um, you know, sort of understanding like what that is, right? Like what is the cloud, and sort of demystifying that to learn that it's just like someone else's computer, right?
Yeah.
And in the case of like Google services, like it's a warehouse scale a computer, somewhere out in like Nebraska or Oklahoma, that consumes a massive footprint that serves everything you need from your docs to your YouTube videos. So just really really enlightening experience, man, to just see kind of like how these behemoths operate, and how these individual people kind of like contribute and play roles from strategy and operations to accounting to product finance. Just a vast array of experiences that kind of like just blew my head open, and made me excited for all the possibilities.
Nice. Yeah, kind of a slingshot into a lot of different types of experiences and a lot of different types of roles that you are working with and a lot of different positions that you are interacting with, both laterally and above you as well. So that's really cool. And then ultimately ending up in the data center and doing the finance for those. And yeah, you talk so passionately about it through the various conversations that we've had about it and everything. So I definitely see your vigor for that and the intersection of tech and finance. So that's a great thing. But I do want to just recap as well and just note for the audience out there just to see how you always took opportunities to kind of put yourself out there and push the bounds of where you are at the moment. So you were never complacent with where you were at or just jumping into the application with having the 4 year degree and noting that as being fine. So joining the club, doing the student investment fund, and then putting yourself out there with the application for Google. I do want people to really resonate with the fact that you were always challenging yourself to grow and be better prepared for the job that you wanted. So there was a lack of complacency there that I love. I think a lot of people, like I was saying before, when they want to achieve a particular goal and they don't know where it's going, even if you do check all the boxes, that's like you were saying, not enough. There are other people who are checking those boxes too. So what are you doing to separate yourself from them? And I remember a professor told me when I was in college, one who had actually gave me an opportunity to apply for a scholarship that I end up that I mean, sorry, not a scholarship, an internship that I end up getting. She like lectured the entire class because there was like very few people had applied to the program, and I ended up getting it. But she was a little upset that not a lot of people applied. But she was like, you should take this opportunity now as being in a position where people actually want to help you. You have a unique opportunity and when you're in high school or when you're in college or when you're in your youth, people want to see you grow. People want to reach out and give you those opportunities to become better and grow within the field. So take advantage of those opportunities because as soon as you graduate, you're just another application on the stack. You're just another person on the pile who has less qualifications than the person who's switching careers after 4 or 5 years. or switching to a different company after years of experience, but they're still entry level as well. That's who you're competing against. So take those opportunities to grow within the company, even if it's at an opportunity where you're not really, salaried or, taking an internship and you're valued a little bit less, but still getting those hours in those reps within the career to challenge yourself and push yourself through that through that threshold. So, and I think you definitely personify someone who has always done that.
Hey, thank you, Chris. Thank you so much for that, man. Super kind. It's really kind, man. And isn't that remarkable though, right? Like just what you shared, right? And I think that like we see that all the time, right? Um, there are so many people that are just like allowing life to happen,
Hmm.
uh, and it's just remarkable, man. If I could like emphasize anything, to my siblings or to those that like I'm mentoring, coming up behind me, in the workplace, it's like I was just speaking to the latest class of associates, Kappa class,
Nice.
brilliant group of associates that are joining Google, man. And the only advice that I could offer them was to like respect the opportunity and to be accountable, right? And like as cliche as this has become, right? Like leaning in,
Mhm.
shout out to Sheryl Sandberg, but that's real, man.
Yeah.
Like just showing up, being eager, and like just wanting the spot, man, wanting to play, like get on the field, be the man in the arena, raise your hand, do the damn thing, take it while you're asking for it. Like there's not a lot of that out there, man. And to the extent that you kind of personify that and live by those axioms, like oftentimes like in my life, like I found that the major things in between like me and my goals was me, man.
Yeah.
Like the biggest challenge is to being who I wanted to be, and to be where I wanted to go. Like the biggest challenge was John, man.
Hmm.
Was I gonna wake up? Was I gonna do the work? Was I going to make the right decisions? um and like if there's a opportunity, right, for anyone to reflect and ask themselves, right, like if they are doing what they want to do to be who they want to be, man, ask yourself that question, recalibrate.
Absolutely. And I think when you talk about showing up, I was listening to this one um, podcast, Modern Wisdom. He had a guest on, and he was talking about how enthusiasm is a skill. You see those people who are super fired up all the time, and you think to yourself like, "Oh man, this is just that type of person." But enthusiasm is 100% like a skill that you can cultivate if you choose to be enthusiastic about something, or you choose to put that energy forth. Like you can have that and in an authentic place. You don't have to be overly dramatic in your presentation in the world, but show up and with vigor and some excitement for what you're doing. And people love to see that. It radiates, it's infectious. And so I think that when he told me that, it's like that's a beautiful skill to have. And the context that he talked about it in was in work, but also in personal life. He said, I like to have Ricky Ricardo energy. So when I'm busting
Okay.
through the door, hey, what's up, Lucy? Like, what's going on? Like who wouldn't want to have that coming through the door every day, whether that's at work or at home, and just embodying that type of enthusiasm and vigor for life, and really honing in on that is such a powerful thing that was a takeaway for me, and something that I like to bring to the table both in my career and in my personal life.
Showing up is important, man. That's 65% of it, possibly more. Showing up.
Absolutely. And so currently at your career trajectory, so you've moved a couple pegs through the Google manifold, and you're kind of within the company, moving and grooving, doing your thing, man. But at this point, the new challenge for yourself is you're now essentially going for a licensing exam certification. Can you kind of explain to me a little bit about that, what that certification is, and kind of the aspects of the exam?
Yeah, yeah. So I am pursuing the CFA charter. It's a chartered financial analyst those of you like you can think of it as like a black belt in finance. If you know any accountants, they likely have a certification called a CPA, which is a black belt in accounting. And for me, I am a candidate for the third exam. It's a three-part exam. Each exam takes a minimum of 300 hours to study for. And like I've done that historically over the course of like 7 to 9 months. And so I am hoping to finish this out and to like receive my charter, in 2025. I need to start studying soon, actually. I'm registered to take the exam, the last exam in February of this year. And it's an awesome curriculum. It's really an awesome curriculum. It is incredibly broad and it goes into incredible depth, right? It covers, accounting standards internationally here in the States. You get into like corporate, restructuring. You get into, equity valuation, fixed income valuation, basically, anything, that touches, the domain of finance, right? You're going to get like a master's level sort of education in it via the CFA program. So it's one that, I found, tremendous, you know, value in, just from the teachings and then also just the challenge, man, right? It's a marathon. I began this in 2019, and it's looking like I might wrap this up in 2025. So I'm really happy, about my experience in the program. And I will share a little bit about my motivations for it, Chris. I don't know that I've
Please.
shared this with you, man. But you know this about me, man.
Mm.
Like I always wanted the MBA. You
Yeah.
know, I wanted the MBA since I was a young lad. My father pursued his masters and always challenged me to at least match his excellency, right, when it comes to academics. And he would always wear his class ring, man, big fat gold class ring from Fresno State with a beautiful amethyst stone in it, and I wanted that, as a young man, I thought like, yo, that is possibly the flyest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Uh, as an adult, like I can live without it, right? Like I don't need this obnoxious, gold ring. Um, but anyways, right? Just doing the math, right? I'm not sure that I can, forego 2 years of compensation. And this is not advice for anyone, right? Just a personal assessment of my own.
Hmm.
I'm not willing to forego like 2 years of compensation and then pay, right, for the MBA. It'd be
Hmm.
an enormous price tag. And so I find that the CFA um, communicates to would-be employers or peers like the same level of like excellence or dedication to the field or craft, right? So
Hmm.
for me, I'm pursuing the CFA one to like just enhance my knowledge of the field to make myself like more useful, more attractive, for the next opportunity, but also as a way to kind of like mitigate the FOMO or the lack of the lack of experience from like pursuing that MBA.
I got you. I got you. And what kind of I'm glad, well, one, I'm glad I caught you in between the second and the third, because I
Yeah,
know it's pretty much a blackout period when you begin to hit the books, man. And I remember when I was before deciding to ultimately not pursue the master's program that I was originally studying for, but being like 4 months into studying for the GMAT every at like 2 hours every morning, hitting those books, man. Like I know exactly what you're going through, man. So I'm glad I caught you at that particular time, and then also I'm happy to hear that you passed the second portion of the exam and then coming into the home stretch, because last time that we had spoke, you had finished the test, felt very confident in how you did, but we're waiting for those results to come back. So congratulations on that again, man. And so I'm happy about that. What kind of opportunities would the certification allot you? What kind of career opportunities and other opportunities do you think you have based on accomplishing this once you accomplish the certification?
Yeah. So like where you see the deepest concentration of folks like with this type of certification charter,
Mm.
it's typically like Wall Street, right?
Oh, okay.
Like buy side analyst folks working for hedge funds or sell side analyst folks working for investment banks that are helping companies to market their shares on the public markets, right? So that's the deepest concentration where you see this charter. Um, but I would say from corporate finance, right, to Wall Street, to even here in Sacramento, right, where
Mm.
you have one of the world's largest pension funds, right, CalPERS.
Mm.
Anything that has to do with money investments, be it personal wealth management, like there's not there's not a more better signal to have, of your competence than this charter. So I would say that the world is my ocean. I'm not necessarily looking for a career change. Like I said, this is kind of, where I've wanted to be. So I'm looking to kind of, grow, from like a financial analyst to, a manager to, a director to a VP to CFO, hopefully, God willing.
Nice.
So I'm not necessarily looking for a pivot, but with the charter, right? Mergers and acquisitions, would be a potential avenue that I would explore if I wanted to stay within corporate finance,
Mm.
um, barring like a whole industry change. I don't know that I'm never working on Wall Street. Like at this age,
Yeah.
my willingness to put my nose to the grindstone for the type of hours that requires, like I think I've potentially aged out of that.
I don't blame you. But yeah, I was asking mainly just for the person out there who is just kind of getting their feet wet in finance. They're not really sure what the benefits of that particular charter would do for them.
Yeah.
And if it's something that is worthwhile for them to pursue. But also another thing I do love and I want to recap is the fact that you kind of did a little bit of a pros and cons analysis of pursuing an MBA program or going for this charter and kind of seeing the curriculum between the two and kind of assessing that it's very comparable. However, you wouldn't have to relinquish the the time that you would have to allocate towards an MBA program, which may restrict you from working. And then the cost of the MBA program. So how much do the tests cost that for the charter that you're pursuing currently?
Yes, yes, yes. I will answer that. But first, like I don't have an MBA, right? Everything that
Mm,
I say about the MBA, like it's anecdote in its best like shape and form.
yeah.
Uh, and so like the CFA program, across 3 exams, maybe $7,000, right?
Okay.
Through start to completion. Um, and in my back of the envelope, calculations for an MBA, and like this, like your mileage may vary, right? When it comes to the MBA, it's not just like the direct costs, like what you're paying for tuition and like books and things. So like you got to think about the opportunity cost,
Hmm.
and like I've estimated that as being around $500,000, like
Yeah.
for the MBA, right? And that's 2 years, and like that, like there are ways in which you can get that down, right? Like for most people, an MBA doesn't cost $500,000. Like you can challenge the ways in which I'm estimating that, but like the type of MBA that I would want, like I'm thinking, it would have an all-in cost of about $500,000
Yeah.
for me,
Yeah.
at this age, right? And for at this age, like I'm trying to buy a house, and like
Yeah.
trying to buy a house, and like that's kind of my focus, man. I am trying to, still, invest in myself in a way that I find meaningful,
Mhm.
um, while sort of balancing like the demands of life, right?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't blame you on that sense. I am on the same boat, and I will definitely be doing that after my next big purchase, which is the wedding that's coming up. So,
Let's go.
Um,
Congratulations, by the way, Chris. Congratulations. We are all excited for you and Jasmine, man. We cannot wait for the wedding, and you're the first of us to go down this path. So we're watching intently, and we're looking for we're looking for the playbook, man. So
Yeah, I got you, man. And then just speaking a little bit on the personal life stuff, how do you find that you balance your personal life and your professional life? Finance at certain capacities can be pretty demanding, I would assume, time wise, and then the assessment of the different job roles that you have. How do you balance that and your personal life, family, significant other, all that good stuff?
yeah, it's a challenge. Um, it's a challenge, especially when you incorporate the studying. I, I I don't know that balance really exists. I think you do the best, that you can. I think you prioritize in the moment. Obviously, you show up, for your partner every day, right? And you show up, for your workplace and your teammates every day. Um, and then beyond that, man, you do as much as you can. So for me, balance has been elusive. I often find myself in like this equilibrium. And so I have a massive family, like this.
Hmm.
I have 10 brothers and sisters. I try to spread the love like as best as I can. So whenever there's an opportunity to like unplug, you can always find me on the phone. Nurturing those relationships with my folks, traveling, to see them. Um, for me, like my priorities are very simple, right? It's family, right? It's my well being, it's my health, and then it's my work, right? So just knowing, like what's important and prioritizing my time, across those three buckets, and like anything else is extra, man.
Yeah.
Like I'm just finding myself with less and less time these days, and I'm sure you're experiencing that as well, huh?
Absolutely, man.
You
Absolutely.
gotta say no, man. You gotta say no, and you gotta just be thoughtful.
Yeah, man. And it's interesting that recently moving and separating myself from a lot of people that I would normally spend time with. Previously, I was like, when I made that move, I was like, I'm not gonna fill that. I'm not gonna fill that gap. I'm not gonna fill that hole of time of being separated from folks. I'm just gonna turn inward on my relationship, turn inward on the things that I want to accomplish, and then ultimately become a little bit more expansive in the things that I want to give to the world as well, namely this podcast and some other projects. So that's just how I kind of approach that. But yeah, man, less and less time is the name of the game, man. So how do you how do you do more with less? And I'm kind of
Straight up.
pretty much trying to stretch that as much as I can. But for as we close up here, I just want to see what kind of advice that you have for anyone who's early in the career of finance and on their journey. Maybe someone who's thinking about going into finance and they're something that they may be interested in, or someone who's just recently graduating and has the intent to study that in college or something like that. What kind of advice do you have for them?
Yeah, and I'm not gonna share anything new here, right? Like I don't want to like dilute the potency of some of the like prior nuggets that we've shared here together, Chris. And like I'm gonna just bring them together, right? And like I think if you
Mhm.
can form some type of navigation tool out of these two like axioms, like it'll serve you well. When we kicked off this call, you mentioned, just having an idea, right? Like if your North Star is just like this romanticization of, like what you think, public relations looks like, or like what you think, maybe being an artist looks like, what you think maybe being a lawyer looks like, and like you haven't, spoken with folks that are in the field doing that day to day, if you don't even know, what type of income, opportunities are available in those professions, like you're not in a position to be making life decisions,
Absolutely.
you know. So you gotta you gotta know where you're going, and develop as robust of an understanding of that end, destination as you can, through leveraging your network, talking to people in the field. And then I think if we can like summarize this into, like a plan of attack, right? Know where you want to go, and then figure out how to get there. And I think that is, just summarizing, leaning in, right, respecting the opportunity, um, pursuing it voraciously, right, learning, what attributes, can you possess that will help you like stand out, to that would be hiring manager. So starting with the end in mind, and then just violently like pursuing it, not violently, right, but just pursuing it with a hunger and an appetite, respecting the opportunity, and just doing the damn thing. I think the journey, right, is really gratifying. So doing that well, knowing where you want to go, like you can't do much better than that.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate it. And for those who wanna get an instance of a roadmap of how to get to where they want to go from wealth of different individuals, definitely tune in to Views from the Mountaintop. Keep
Views from
checking
the
in.
mountain.
We're gonna have some more folks in, and it's gonna continue to get bigger and better. So I appreciate you, John, for hopping on and sharing your wealth of experience and knowledge and personal anecdotes about how you navigated this life and came to be the person that you are today. And I appreciate you coming on and very, very proud of what you've accomplished and what you will continue to accomplish. And I am happy to call you my friend. So excited.
Likewise, man. Thank you, Chris.
Absolutely.